Hello and welcome to a homespun house. My name is Molly and I am the owner of a homespun house. I'm here today to chat with you again 1 week later, which feels so wonderful to be here chatting about my knitting and the things that I have been making only a week later. And I have been making. We also have been spending a lot of time at our bungalow, our holiday home that we kind of usually are at for 6 to 8 weeks in the summer. And we've been really working on making it cozy again. So I've been bringing my knitting there while I've been working in the garden. And yeah, I want to share with you some of the things that I've been working on. So the first thing that I finished is my Happy Birthday Fred and George Weasley socks. We have a Harry Potter yarn club that's going this whole year, actually up until next February. And each month it features 1 to 3 characters from the Harry Potter series. And yeah, we dye yarn based upon those characters. So this is Happy Birthday Fred and George Weasley. As they're twins, they share a birthday, so there's one sock set for each of them. The sock set included this colorway along with butternut, this gorgeous orange. So I'm gonna share with you that blanket in just a little bit, but yeah, so I finished this pair of socks. They were so much fun to knit, and these are the only pair of socks that I am knitting not using a contrasting color. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that I love knitting my socks with a contrasting color for the cuff, a different one for the heel, and then maybe a different one for the toe. Sometimes I might use 3 contrasting colors, 2 contrasting colors, or just one for all 3. But I've really been enjoying just taking these socks along and having them be something super easy and mindless that I can knit on when I have 5 minutes to knit, half an hour to knit, or even an hour just to sit at our bungalow and do a little bit of knitting, or on our way to the bungalow, which is 45 minutes away from our home. Well, half an hour, it really depends on traffic. However, I have driven 2 times from the bungalow, and that's been super fun. So I've lived in Germany since 2008, and we lived in America for 2 of those years. So all the way from 2008 to 2018, I had not driven. Only the times that we visited America, I would drive. I had an American driver's license. And then we moved to America from 2018 to 2020, and I felt so free being able to drive everywhere. Now, when we lived in Germany before, we lived in Berlin, and public transit is the easiest thing ever. So I was able to get anywhere I wanted via a tram, an S-Bahn, a bus, all of those things. And then we moved back, and I just really felt the need to be driving again. So I got my German driver's license. I needed to give up my American driver's license to get my German driver's license, which was very strange to like hand that over. And it's different driving here. The road signs are different. There are so many teeny roads where only one car fits through. It's just a lot of navigating, lots of parallel parking, and it's definitely, like I said, a learning curve. So those times I haven't been able to knit in the car, but the majority of the time, Robert, my husband, is driving, and I can do a little bit of knitting in the car. So this is the perfect project. I don't have any more socks on my needles, which is such a bummer. However, this week I'm going to be dyeing up Patreon minis and Patreon sock sets, and I'm going to cast those on immediately because I am missing having a sock on my needles. I do have lots of scraps though, so I definitely could cast on a pair of scrappy socks. However, all of those scraps are kind of being saved for something. So speaking of scraps, Last time I shared with you my Jelly Roll blanket, which is a pattern by Kay Jones from the Bakery Bears. I was super inspired week after week watching Kay from the Crazy Sock Lady, Kay Litton, knitting on her fingering weight and DK weight jelly rolls. And I decided I needed to cast one on as well. So this is such a fun pattern. And I am using Patreon minis. I'm using scraps of my yarn. I'm also using a new club that we started, which is a monthly mini skein club with 5 20-gram minis and 5 10-gram minis, all different colors each month. And I'm holding them double because it's fingering weight. I feel like that's quite a versatile weight for mini skeins because you can double them if you want it to be DK, or you can use them single if you just want fingering weight yarn. So I'm doubling mine for my blanket. I'm not using any true DK weight yarn. I'm using solely fingering weight held double. For this blanket, it's so much fun. I'm using, like I said, scraps of yarn, 10-gram mini skeins, and a 10-gram mini skein will get you, let me just look so I can show you this much of a strip. 20-gram, obviously twice as much. So I'm not using all of my 10-gram or 20-gram. Sometimes I might use it all, sometimes not. However, now that I've started a different blanket, I'm a bit more careful with how I'm using those mini skeins so that I get lots of projects out of them. I've knit 2 rows since the last time. I added this one on here with these really beautiful colors, and I've just started this one. I haven't woven in the ends yet. I'm usually pretty good at weaving them in as soon as I finish a square. I might even weave in the first end, or strip, I'm sorry. I might even weave it in as soon as I start and get 10 rows in and I'm able to weave my end in. But this one, I haven't woven any of them in from these 5 colors that I'm working on. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm still doing good with knitting a strip a week. And this one will definitely be finished by the end of the week. It's an enjoyable project. I'm not traveling with it at all. It's just way too big to travel with. But in the mornings when I'm sitting and working on it, it has a lovely weight to it and feels absolutely great on my lap. So this is the mini skein that I'm working with. It's on our gold stellina. When you get our monthly minis, a few of those will always be dyed on gold stellina, which I personally love. And I feel like for a blanket, if you're knitting one, those little touches of gold stellina, because they're so subtle among more, I would say, of the standard merino nylon sock yarns, it just adds a really pretty touch to the blanket. It's just something extra, something special where you look at it and you have to look twice because you wonder if you're seeing correctly that it's, you know, it's glittering a little bit. So it's absolutely such a fun project to work on. And I know I'm going to love this blanket. So what I'm using also my mini skeins on, and what I've started to do is I've started to, when I get a new mini from our club or from Patreon yarns, I'm starting to first put it in my Cozy Memories blanket. I shared this last time, and I think I had 13 squares on it. I think that's right. Yeah, I had 13 squares on it and I now have 30. So I've done quite a bit. I am having so much fun working on this. I brought this with me to the holiday home the last 2 days, and I think I brought 6 colors to knit 6 squares, and then I brought my socks with me. And I thought, you are exaggerating a little bit here. You have a lot of work to do. There's no way you're going to go through all of this yarn. But you know what? I'm just going to bring it anyway, keep it in my basket, even though I thought I was being ridiculous. Well, by the time we were in the car, I drove home so I couldn't knit anyway. I had already knit all 6 squares, and I had finished and woven in the ends, yes, of my second Happy Birthday Fred and George Weasley socks. So it was definitely not too much. Now, had I brought more minis for my Cozy Memories blanket, I wouldn't have finished my socks because I obsessively, every free moment I had, picked this up. And I can't wait to knit more on this. I do want to knit my strip for the week, and then I'll knit a little bit more on this, even though I say that. And I'm going to take this with me tomorrow when we go to the bungalow. And this is what I'm going to work on. So even though we're there for one day, I'll probably take 4 colors with me just to be safe. Yeah. Super fun. These are my minis that I currently have to add to this blanket. And I'm having so much fun playing with color. I haven't dyed up May's mini skeins yet, so I'll probably do that in about 2 weeks. And I'll have to hold off, but I have another blanket that I am starting, which will remedy kind of all of the pauses that I have from blanket to blanket. So that'll be 3 blankets on my needles, and there's a 4th one that I also want to cast on, which is that boucle blanket that I spoke about last week, because that is Ruby, my youngest daughter. It's her absolute favorite blanket. It's the only one she wants on her lap. She loves the just soft, cozy feel of it and drape. And so I think I need to knit that blanket. However, I have this blanket here. This is a blanket that I knit and designed. There's no pattern for it, but I love this blanket so much. I used our soft sock base in our Fresh Sheets colorway, which is just a really pretty cream base. And then I knit this using all of my leftover skeins of, no, not Surrey alpaca. I used mohair. And yeah, I just kind of went from one color to the next and used exactly as much as I had. And this is a perfect size blanket for me. Every single time I go out to the terrace, I take this out with me, and it's so warm and cozy that I've been thinking for the last, I think, month that I need to knit another blanket using mohair, and I want it to be bigger, a little bit bigger. So I dyed up some of our oatmeal colorway on mohair again. I've done most blankets where I've held the yarn double and added a color. I think it's always been Fresh Sheets. And I really wanted to do something with a darker color. And I love shades of brown. So I thought oatmeal is a pretty subtle colorway when it's single stranded. I mean, when you see it like this, it looks quite dark, but it has a really nice brownish gray tone. And I don't think that when I mix it with other yarns, it will be too overwhelming. So when I knit this blanket and this blanket, all of the scraps go into this, which you can see is overflowing. Here's what I have left of my Fred and George Weasley sock yarn. So they all go in here. And I thought this would be an amazing use for either a new design of a blanket. I'd love to do something similar to this. I really like the eyelets along with garter stitch and then some textured knitting. Or do I just want to knit a super simple, cozy comfort throw? I don't know, but I need to cast it on soon. Why do I need to? Because I want to. I want to start knitting into these minis, and I know that soon I will start running low on minis for my other 2 blankets, kind of waiting for Patreon yarns and mini skein yarns, and then whatever I have left over from whichever socks that I'm knitting that week or month. So that will definitely be cast on this week, and I am I'm really excited about it. I've just kind of been pondering while working on other projects how I want it to look. Do I want super simple, just only garter, like the cozy comfort throw? Or like I said, do I want to do some sort of a pattern? I don't know. I have no idea. But that's been super fun. It's been a lot of fun to think about and play around with and just work on all of those blankets and color. It's been a lot of fun. So the next thing that I've been working on, and I thought that I would have finished, I think I did the last time that I recorded a podcast, is my Inga sweater. And this is a pattern by Lena Holme-Samsø, and I have knit 2 of her designs before. I knit the porcelain sweater, which I wore last episode. I did a 3-color colorwork version, well, 4-color altogether, but she knit hers in the classic cream and blue, and then I did 3-color stranded colorwork. And now I'm knitting her Inga sweater. I really love this. This is a raglan style, and I've heard that her porcelain sweater recently came out in a raglan style, and I love it. I'm wondering if I should knit another porcelain and raglan at some point, maybe in the fall. I think that would be really fun. What colors I would use, I have no idea, but I don't think I would do a 2-colored version. I think I would do a 4-colored version somehow, like I did the previous porcelain sweater. So this is a pattern for DK weight yarn, and I'm using our non-superwash DK weight in the juniper colorway. And then I'm using our Surrey alpaca in Scandinavia, which is this really beautiful kind of lilac-y light blue. It has a really subtle purple tone to it. And then there's this really creamy kind of sea foamy green, I would say. So I'm really enjoying knitting this. I am holding the Surrey alpaca double to make it a DK weight, and it definitely offers more than enough fluff to the garment, that it doesn't look too thin at all. If anything, it is definitely fluffier and fills up more space than the merino. But it's not wholly at all. It's a really, really nice texture and weight to the garment. I really love the fabric that it's creating. I'm using a 3.5 millimeter needle. I think the pattern calls for a 3.75 or a 4 millimeter needle, but I like my garments to be a little bit more tightly knit than extremely overly drapey. And I'm very happy with the gauge that I have here. As I mentioned, it is a little bit of a smaller gauge than what Lena asks for in her pattern, but I'm happy with it. Very, very happy with it. I am on my 3rd repeat of 6 for the sleeve. The pattern doesn't call for 6 repeats, but that's how long I want my arm to be. So I'm on the 3rd repeat, and I'm not doing as fitted sleeves as Lena calls for either in the pattern. I'm only doing 3 decreases, and she calls for much more than that. And I'm decreasing them at each of these little crosses, I guess you could say. So I did 3 repeats, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. And then at this cross, I decreased 2, this cross, I decreased 2, and then this cross. Oh, so I've done 4. I decreased 2, and then this final cross, I decreased 2 after the crosses. And I'm happy with it. As I mentioned last time also, it's quite a lot larger of a sleeve than I'm used to in my garments, but I think I'll really enjoy the change. And this is my sweater that I imagine, again, while we're at our bungalow, cozying up in the evenings, playing cards, having a tasty drink, having some snacks, laughing together, just enjoying summer holidays with my family, neighbors around us, chatting and playing cards, which is what we do pretty much every evening when we're there. Rummy is our game of choice. Do any of you play Rummy? It's so funny because we'll have people come and visit us at our bungalow, and it seems as though every different family has a different set of rummy rules. So it's always a little discussion before we play of how rummy is actually played. Our house, our rules. No, we're open to change and trying different things. But I'm really, really enjoying this. And I think it's going to be such a wonderful knit. I still need to dye yarn for another sweater. And that means that I really need to decide which sweater I want to knit. I'm quite sure I know what I want to knit. And I think I want to knit it still out of Gumdrop, which is this colorway. And I want to do Surrey alpaca and probably non-superwash merino for that garment in particular. I did finish my jelly beans socks. That was our March Patreon sock set, but they're in the wash. I wore them yesterday to our bungalow, and I wore them in a pair of Crocs while I was doing a bunch of garden work. And as you know, those socks are a cream base with a lot of different speckles, and they got so dirty. So those are in the wash right now. They turned out absolutely beautiful. I will never wear them working in the garden again. In fact, I don't think I'm going to wear hand knit socks in the garden again because they got so dirty. I hope that they wash up well because that would be such a bummer. I really love those socks. My youngest daughter is having a birthday in May, and my girls love this book. So it's called Moosh and Friends, and it's written by Cynthia Valet. And she has designed all of these gorgeous stuffies, I guess is what you could call them. And they are so sweet. So my youngest daughter loves squirrels, and she saw Hazel. And she has been asking for Hazel since I purchased this book. And she has been wanting desperately a Hazel of her own. Her birthday is in a little over a month. And I've been saying for the last 2 months that I'm going to cast this on because these patterns in this book are not patterns that you read and you can just knit easy for a long section. You need to read pretty much every line. So it's a knit that is a definite process, which I am 100% a process knitter. I love every moment of knitting. I knit so many things that I put into a box later to gift people, later to gift whoever, and they just sit in the box. I knit gifts for my grandchildren. My children are still small, but it just brings me so much joy. And I don't even know if my children will have children. So I'm a process knitter for sure. And I hope that I enjoy the process of knitting this squirrel. I have not cast it on. So the girls have a week of Easter holidays, and as soon as they go back to school, I've told myself I need to spend that week knitting and casting Hazel on. I've already dyed the yarn. So we have rose gold here. I've dyed it on our plump merino, which I think will be a lot of fun because I don't knit with it a lot. I mostly knit with it using socks, but I think it has a really beautiful texture to it that I think will be a lot of fun for the stuffy. And then I have pine cone here. And then I dyed it up on our Surrey as well because I think that will work really great for her tail. It will add a lot of nice bushiness, and this yarn has been sitting caked up for a long, long time. So Hazel will be getting cast on, and I guess you'll be seeing that in 2 weeks or so. If I come back. I know I've been here twice. Who's to say I'm not going to come back in another year? All right. So that definitely needs to be cast on. I'm excited about it. I think it will be fun once I start knitting it. I think it would be really cool if I knit on that stuffy and decided that I needed to make more. I think it would be fun to have a little collection of my own, just on a shelf in my studio with all the little stuffies that I've knit using my yarn that I've dyed. I mean, sounds super cool. I don't think that's something that I'm going to be taking with me to our bungalow when we go. I don't think that's sitting and relaxing knitting, which is why I have my blankets, my socks, some more simple things that I can work on. Because we are definitely going to be spending most of our days at the bungalow. Taking less days working, spending more time cleaning up there, working on the garden. It is very, very refreshing and cleansing, and it's just such a wonderful feeling being there and being outside. And Robert's parents have a bungalow probably a minute to 3 minutes walk away, so we see them all the time. Robert and his dad have some fun projects that they're going to be doing in our bungalow. We've only had it for almost a year now, and we haven't stayed in it over winter. We stayed in it all summer last year and visited it a little bit in the fall. So we don't have a fireplace in our bungalow yet. And that's how we are going to heat the bungalow. Most people heat all of their bungalows in this area with a fireplace, Robert's parents included. And you don't need to do that in the summer. So Robert and his dad tomorrow are going to start putting our fireplace in our bungalow. It's already put in there. There's just some final things that need to be done. And his dad thinks it will probably take 2 to 3 hours, which is so nice. So we'll start heating it up while we're there, and hopefully next month sometime we'll be able to start sleeping in our bungalow while the weather is, you know, colder during the nighttime. It definitely needs to be heated at night. So I'm really looking forward to that. I know we're all looking forward to that, and this spring break, that's where we'll be spending most of our time. So it's a lot of fun. It's really wonderful. We enjoy being there so much, and I'm looking forward to going tomorrow. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed seeing all of the things that I have been working on, and maybe found some inspiration in a blanket or a sweater or a fun pair of socks. And I will see you all next time I see you. Bye.